Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to When Football Pundits Decide to Try Real Life. This is the story of Gary Neville's time at Valencia, also known as La Liga's shortest horror story. In December 2015, Gary Neville took his first job as a manager. By April 2016, he had completed football speedrun mode: start strong, lose badly, get booed in Spanish, and go back to TV. So what exactly happened in those chaotic 4 months? And did Neville destroy Valencia, or did Valencia destroy Neville? Let's unpack this tactical telenovela. 1. The setup. Welcome to the worst job ever. Imagine your first job being to fix a haunted amusement park during an earthquake. That's what Gary Neville signed up for when he took over Valencia. The club was already 5 points off Champions League places and had fans louder than a Lagos wedding MC. The owner, Peter Lim, was a billionaire businessman who ran the club like a startup and just happened to be Neville's buddy. So naturally, instead of calling an experienced coach, he phoned a pundit. Neville turned down jobs at Middlesbrough, Derby, and Newcastle, then said yes to a chaotic, politically fractured La Liga club with zero Spanish skills. That's like rejecting 3 Honda Civics and choosing a flaming Ferrari with no brakes. He didn't even want to be a manager. Imagine being dragged into a full-time job you never applied for by your rich friend who owns the company. That's not a career move. That's a hostage situation. Also, the man didn't speak Spanish. That's right. He went to manage in Spain without knowing Spanish. That's like trying to DJ at a wedding and not knowing what plays means. And just to make things even messier, Valencia was already a club knee-deep in drama. They'd been through more managers than a Premier League WhatsApp group. The fans were still recovering from Mendes mania, and the squad was a strange mix of rising talents and footballing existentialists. Gary wasn't walking into a football club. He was walking into a reality TV show where the prize was survival and the prize money was a weekly press conference in a language he didn't understand. 2. Grand plans. Terrible execution. To be fair, Neville had grand ideas. He gave players iPads, held weekly meetings, and even attended commercial briefings. But then came his actual job: coaching football matches. His debut game, a 2-0 Champions League loss to Lyon, where nobody knew what formation they were playing. From there, it was tactical chaos. He played every system except 3-1-4 Doom. Neville changed tactics more than a Nigerian politician changes parties: 4-3-3, 5-3-2, 4-4-2, then back to panic mode. He never played the same 11 twice. His starting lineup had less stability than Twitter after Elon bought it. Injuries didn't help. But also, in his first 16 matches he won 4. None in the league. At this point, even draw specialists like Stoke City were sending him motivational quotes. And to make matters worse, his attempts at tactical innovation often felt like he was picking strategies out of a hat. One day, he wanted high pressing. The next day, he wanted deep blocks. The players weren't sure if they were preparing for a football match or an improv theater performance. By February, the only consistent pattern was inconsistency. And even the tea lady wasn't sure if they'd be playing with a back 3 or with 3 keepers. 3. The dressing room drama, Captain Chaos. Inside the club, things were somehow worse. Within 2 weeks, the captain and another senior player wanted to leave. Neville asked Fergie for advice, who told him to bin them both. Gary said nah, and instead removed the armband, then gave it to 4 people, including the guy who wanted to leave. The vibe in the dressing room got so awkward you could cut it with a blunt butter knife. Half the squad didn't know who to listen to: Parejo, Fuego, Phil Neville, or Siri. One player probably asked, "Captain, may I?" And 5 different voices answered. It was less of a team and more like a leadership workshop gone horribly wrong. Gary basically recreated Game of Thrones, but with shin pads. 4. Lost in translation. El Clasico. Miscommunication. Language was a massive problem. Press conferences were in English, then subtitled incorrectly in Spanish, leading to TV hosts roasting him for things he didn't say. He spoke to players through a translator, sometimes having to pause training for 4 minutes so everyone could understand him. Players jogged on the spot during these breaks. Some of them probably learned salsa while waiting for the translation to finish. Neville eventually delegated training to his brother Phil and assistant Paco Aisteron, which is like leaving your burning house with your little brother in charge of the fire extinguisher. In one team talk, Neville tried to say 3 quick passes in Spanish. He accidentally said it in French. Valencia's entire midfield short-circuited on the spot. At one point, Neville's pre-match instructions sounded more like a UN summit than a tactical briefing. You had English, Spanish, some unintentional French, and whatever Phil Neville was mumbling in the background. By the time the players figured out the game plan, it was already halftime. Somewhere in the stands, a fan probably downloaded Duolingo just to understand what their own manager was saying. 5. The 7-0 humiliation. Barcelona's masterclass. Things hit rock bottom with a 7-0 loss to Barcelona. Yes, 7. That's not a scoreline, that's an attendance at a family party. Neville said they must win their next game against Real Betis. They lost 1-0. Because of course they did. Barcelona treated Valencia like an after-school snack. Messi had a hat-trick, Suarez was bored, and the scoreboard needed therapy. After the Betis loss, Neville still believed. That's admirable, or delusional. By now fans were chanting "Gary go now," which is poetic if you think about it. First they said Gary is not Mendez's man. Now they just wanted him gone. The 7-0 wasn't just a defeat. It was a televised public execution. By halftime, even Barca fans were starting to feel sorry. Somewhere on the touchline, Gary looked like a man trying to find the nearest emergency exit on a pitch. And the tactical response. He changed formation again, which at that point felt like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, while it was already underwater. 6. That one time he kinda turned it around. He actually won 5 out of 7 games at one point. But performance-wise, still bad. Like putting perfume on a trash can. He finally won a league game against Espanyol, thanks to heroics from Diego Alves, who was the third different goalkeeper used in as many games. But then, it all fell apart again. In a game versus Atletico, Neville tried to bring on Negredo, only to realize a defender had been sent off. Negredo had to sit back down, then stand up again, then sit again. Like musical chairs with careers on the line. Valencia fans in the stadium looked like they were watching a slow-motion car crash, with jazz music playing in the background. That brief winning streak gave everyone false hope. Like when your ex texts, "I miss you at 2 a.m., but deep down, fans knew it was just the calm before another tactical hurricane. Even the victories felt accidental, like when your phone autocorrects to the right word for once. Neville wasn't turning things around, he was just delaying the next meme-worthy disaster. 7. The end, beaten, battered, and balding. They crashed out of the Europa League, got battered by Celta Vigo, and dropped to just 6 points above relegation. The fans chanted Neville out of the city. He didn't resign, but his friend Lim finally did the right thing. Fired him. His final record? 3 La Liga wins, 0 clean sheets, a 7-0 humiliation, and 1 very stressed-out hairline. Neville later admitted he felt tactically beaten up, which is a polite way of saying La Liga ate him alive and left no leftovers. But hey, the upside? Now when he criticizes managers on TV, at least he knows how badly it can go. By the end, Gary looked like a man who'd been through 12 months of war in just 4. His touchline expressions went from confused optimism to "please let this be over in record time." Even the ball boys were giving him pity glances. And Peter Lim? He ghosted faster than a guy who said, "Let's hang out sometime." Firing Neville was less of a decision and more of an intervention. 8. The moral of the story. Just say no, Gary. So what did we learn from Gary Neville's Spanish vacation? Never manage in a language you don't speak. Never accept a job offer from a rich friend after drinks. And above all, never assume tactical knowledge can be downloaded like an app. If football was a classroom, Neville skipped the lectures and went straight to the exam, with no notes and Google Translate as his tutor. This was less of a managerial career and more of a Netflix limited series. Neville in Valencia, a beautiful disaster. Honestly, the real winner here. Sky Sports, they got their pundit back, with more trauma, more insight, and way more memes. And let's be honest. Deep down, we're kind of glad it happened. Not because we enjoy watching dreams burn in real time, but because it gave us one of football's greatest cautionary tales. Gary went to Spain, gave players iPads, misfired in 3 languages, got humbled by Simeone, and came home a legend of the what not to do variety. And for that, we salute him. Closing thoughts. What could possibly go wrong? Again, so tell us, was Gary brave, clueless, or both? Should more pundits give it a try just so we can laugh harder? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more football banter and glorious managerial disasters. And remember, if you ever think your job is stressful, just know Gary Neville once tried to manage in Spain without speaking Spanish and got booed in 2 languages. See you next time.